We must all have a clear, solid, good understanding of why the Buddha actually came into this world. What was his purpose? Because, people like the Buddha, they don't just come along, just for the fun of it, just to see how it's like in the human world. And they don't come along like that. And they come along with purpose. Sometimes their purpose is beyond our imagination. I doubt a mortal man, a mortal human being like you and I, can even begin to comprehend what the Bodhisattva might have felt, let alone the Buddha. What the Bodhisattva might have felt having dedicated an entire Sansara. From the moment he resolved, my purpose as a being in Sansara is not only to make my own redemption, not only to serve myself, but also every other living being in the entire universe. Such is the resolve of a Bodhisattva. He doesn't think about his family. Why do you make a living? For whom? Next door neighbor? No. Your remit of care and duty and obligation is within your four walls. If you're a school teacher, your remit of care and duty is usually your classroom. If you're a sectional head, then maybe that section. If you're the principal, then possibly the entire school. But you have a remit. This is the frame within which, this is the remit within which my purview, this is where I operate. But there's a being called the Bodhisattva whose remit is infinite. There are no limits to his compassion. There are no limits to, this is the number of beings I want to help. If you ask the Bodhisattva, Venerable Sir, how many beings would you like to help cross this ocean of samsara? You wouldn't get an answer from him. Because in every sense of the word, and he will mean it when he says it, I want every man and woman, every child, every animal, from the tiniest insects to mammoths, to all beings who are out there, including the Maha Brahma, to be able to find true salvation. That is my purpose, the Bodhisattva would say. So, you and I, we just can't fathom that. But we have all been blessed. It really takes something, folks, to be born in an era where a Buddha comes along. I do remind you from time to time about this blessing. How rare it is to be born. And you're not just born, you're humans. Last time I checked. And you have got to listen to the teaching. Wow. Considering all the beings out there, many trillions and trillions and trillions of beings out there with no hope. How lucky do you think you are? Because throughout samsara, we all searched for one thing, and that was happiness. The only problem was we were looking for it in all the wrong places. The Buddha is someone who comes along and says, what you're looking for is fine. It's just the way you're going about it is wrong. You're looking for the right thing in all the wrong places. That's why you ain't finding it. That's why you haven't found it yet. So we need to understand what is the purpose of a Buddha's advent into this world. You will know by now that the cause of all suffering is attachment. Right? Everyone knows that. Yeah? Is that a safe assumption? Everyone knows that? Attachment causes suffering. You know, the Buddha comes into this world and he preaches the Dhamma. He teaches you to let go. Agreed? No. The Buddha can't teach you to let go. That happens. He can't teach you to let go. You can't let go. That happens. Letting go happens. It's not something you do. It just happens. Okay, who here has aged deliberately? Okay, I'm aging today. Right. Okay, come on, let's age. Is that something you've done, or is that something that's just happened? It happened. Can you stop it? No, it just happens. You can't stop it. Letting go is like aging, in the sense that it just happens. But there is something that needs to happen before that. And that is seeing the truth. Realization. The Buddha's purpose of coming into this world is to help you realize the truth. That's all he really came into this world to do. Help you realize the truth. In other words, help you realize this is where you need to go about. You need to look for happiness. Throughout Sansara, we thought happiness can be found in attaching ourselves to various things. Just look into your own lives. How did you find happiness from the day you were born to the day you came along to the teaching, or to the day you actually discovered the teaching? How did we find happiness in our lives? Was it not through attachment? Having decided that X, Y, Z makes me happy, I went after X, Y, Z. X was money. Y was other material things. Z was women. Whatever. So we thought, bringing all these things which possess happiness to me, they will leave me happiness and then they'll go off. So I'm left with happiness. It's like we expected material things to deliver happiness to us. Like, when you ring up the pizza company, Pizza Hut, right? When can you deliver my pizza? We'll be there in 45 minutes, sir. Thank you very much. So like that, all those material things out there, we expected them to deliver happiness. Therefore, we kept inviting them into our lives. Just ask yourselves, from the day you actually began to listen to the Dhamma, did you let go, or did that just happen? Some of you might have tried to let go deliberately, intentionally letting go. That's not very effective. In fact, those deliberate letting goes actually only lead you to suffering even more. Because what happens then is the pressure, the stress, the strain, they start building up in your mind. Someone might decide, right from today, I'm not going to watch TV. They want to watch it, but they've just decided, no, I'm not going to watch TV. I want to let go of watching TV. I want to let go, they think. So they stop watching TV. The TV is at home, they don't watch it. A week goes by, 2 goes by, 3 goes by. They still want to watch it. They're just forcing themselves not to watch it. What you don't know is actually what's happening in the mind is the pressure is building up. The urge is building up inside. It's going to keep building up, like if you've seen how after a rain, in the gutter, there's a few drops of rain or a few drops of water that's left behind start dripping into a pot or something. These drops are very tiny. You look at a drop of water and you go, but that can't do anything. That's just a drop of water. It's nothing. But given enough time, it starts to accumulate. So given enough time, it's going to fill up the pot. And now you can't even lift it. It's so heavy. It's actually tiny drops of water that make up the oceans. Through the power of accumulation, the pressure that's building up inside of you will break you. And what's going to happen then is one day you won't be able to tolerate the pain, you won't be able to tolerate the stress, and then you go and sit down in front of the TV, switch it on, and now that stress relief that you experience will be ecstatic. You will experience that I have never experienced so much pleasure out of watching TV. Wow, this is what I've been missing over the last 3 weeks. And then that experience of pleasure that you feel at that time will bind you even more than when you were originally bound to that source of, well, apparently pleasure. Then the breaking that bond is going to be even harder. Because you switch on the TV after 3 weeks and you realize, this is what I've been missing all my life. Found it. It's going to be so difficult to break it after that. So the Buddha's philosophy, the Buddha's teaching, folks, is not to let go. That just happens. So don't let go of anything. Just let it happen. The Buddha's teaching, the Buddha's advent, the Buddha coming into this world is really to help us realize the truth. The more you realize the truth, the more you will be able to notice, the more you will be able to witness within yourself the letting go process taking place. Just watch it. Just let it happen. Don't let go. Just let it happen. There are some things you have to let go though, whether you like it or not. These are the unwholesome deeds. That, let go. The dasakusa, let go. Don't wait for that the letting go to happen. That you mustn't wait for. You must let go of that immediately. If you kill, if you steal, if you engage in sensual or sexual misconduct, depending on how far you want to take it, if you lie, if you backstab, if you slander, if you engage in frivolous speech, and if you have thoughts of strong desire, covetousness, and ideas of permanent skepticism, those you have to let go. You can't wait for the letting go to happen eventually. Those things you have to let go deliberately. But everything else, raga, dvesha, moha, desire, aversion and delusion, for that the only medicine there is wisdom. The wiser you become, not how does one become wiser? The more grey hairs you have, the wiser you are? Does that work about right? Or the more degrees you have, the more letters you have after your name, the wiser you are? That's not how it works. Who's wisest among you? What do we need to check? Age? Do you all want to stand in the ascending order of age and then we can work out who's wisest? No, it doesn't work like that. Is it what title you bear in society? No, it doesn't work like that. Are men more wiser than women? Men wiser than women? Or is it women wiser than men? No, it doesn't work like that. There's only one determining factor of how wise someone is, and that is their comprehension of the Dhamma. Not knowledge, not how much you know about the Dhamma. That's not the determining factor. It doesn't matter if you are fluent in all the books of the Abhidhamma. That's not what matters. This is somewhere I want you to be careful really. Because, for some people, when you begin to study the Dhamma, it becomes so appealing. Study of the Dhamma becomes so appealing, so attractive, so inspiring, that you think, okay, I want to go and study more Dhamma. So then before you know it, you will fall into the trap of gaining more knowledge of the Dhamma, but not necessarily gaining more comprehension of it. The Sinhala words, of course, you'll be familiar with Danuma and Avbodha. It's not the knowledge we're after, it's the comprehension. How much this has sunken in. Usually how much you have been able to let go is a good acid test. How much letting go has happened. That is a good test. When you start off the 10 non-meritorious deeds, one day you could come along to a sermon and think, from today on, Swami Maharaj said, don't do unwholesome deeds, so I'm not going to do it. You can make that resolve. But inside of you, you still want to do it. That may be the case. There may be some who are like that. You don't lie because Swami Maharaj said don't lie. You don't steal because Swami Maharaj said don't steal. You don't engage in sensual or sexual misconduct because Swami Maharaj said don't do it. You need to move from that. Because Swami Maharaj said don't do it is not going to last for very long. Because one day you're going to say, to hell with Swami Maharaj, I need this. That's like your clutch balance. You can't be in clutch balance forever because your legs are going to tie and then you have to give way. You can't do that forever. He said so, she said so, my father said so, my teacher said so, so don't do it. It's very short-lived, that. We should be in this for the long haul. This is not a short-haul flight, long haul. Tolerating, bearing, being patient is not everlasting. It's very short-term, those fixes. Very temporary fixes. Because the reason I talk to you about this is because there may be some among you. And this is good that you actually make effort to restrain yourself and keep away from the unwholesome deeds. And of course, try and do it. And continue to do it for as much as you can. But in the meantime, make sure you put in place a good foundation. Make sure you put in place a solid foundation, and that is the Dhamma. Because if you don't, pretty soon you won't be able to bear it. You won't be able to tolerate it. Some people, they come up to us and they say such things. Happened to, someone came along last week and said, Swami Maharaj, as a married person, I restrained myself and I never gave in to sensual desires. I was honest to my partner. And even though there was the urge, I didn't give in. But now it's becoming difficult. It's becoming difficult. I've tried to restrain myself. I've tried to control myself because it's a bad thing. And I know I mustn't do it. I know I shouldn't do it, but I want to do it. Help me. So of course, in Dhamma they will have learned. Kamesu miccachara veramani sikkhapadam samadhi. How many times might you have recited that? More than the number of hairs on your head by now. Those of you who still have hair left. I don't. I'm talking about myself actually. Don't worry. Oh, you all got lovely hair, okay? So I wasn't talking about you. I was talking about myself. See, that is very short-lived. Because the pressure will keep building up. There's a young audience here today, most of you. This is why I'm talking to you about some of these things. Given the indoctrination that will have happened in your life, all this drushti that will have been dropped into your head, into your mind, it's almost natural that people will want to explore sensual delight because they feel that has been delightful. This is the view that has been implanted in them. Sensual delights. You will restrain yourself because it's the wrong thing to do. It's bad to do that. You could go to hell. I don't want to go to Apai, so I'm not going to do it. But for how long can you do that? Because one day you're going to be, to hell with hell. I need this. And that day, you will need the Dhamma. So the purpose of the Buddha's advent, the purpose of the Buddha's coming into this world is really to not advise you to let go, is to give you his teaching, to realize the truth. Once you have realized the truth, the letting go will just happen automatically. There may be some among you who want to go forth, become monks. There may be others who have decided one day I want to become a nun. Maybe. Or you want to live a monastic life, a celibate life, as an anagarika or anagarika. There may be those among you like that. Maybe those listening in. Earlier on today someone came along and this person wants to become an anagarika. So he's speaking to us and he's talking about his life. Swamina, this is why I want to do this, this is why I want to do this. But talking to this person, it soon dawned on us that they've only been listening to the Dhamma for a very short period of time, maybe a month or two. And they have decided, right, I want to go into monastic life. And I sometimes almost argue with Guru Handuru, because every time he gives a sermon, he really inspires everyone to, come along, you have to do this, let's all become a monk, let's all become nuns and get this done. And so I almost argue with him sometimes, Swamina, what you expect of people to do may sometimes not be achievable. Because there are so many ties that have kept them bound to a lay life. All these desires that they have learned to live with. And so letting go is not something that people are able to do so easily. Although this is what we may wish other people to be able to do so. So to this person, when we spoke with this person, we said, ease up. Whoa, easy. Slow down. What determines if you will attain Nibbana is not you becoming an anagarika. What determines if you will attain Nibbana is your understanding of the Dhamma. All this haste, this rush to become an anagarika is not going to get you any closer to Nibbana. What can usually happen is this person comes along, leaves behind a lay life, all those sensual desires that they so enjoyed in their lay lives, and then now there's no way to satisfy these desires. And then the pressure starts building up. And it keeps building up. This is the nature of this vexation, a vexatious mind. This is the nature of it. We've talked about examples, right? Remember I talked about what I used to witness at the airport, coming and going. How people would greet each other when they met up, reunited with their loved ones. Usually the gesture that is exchanged is directly proportional to the time that they have spent apart from each other. If it's a short period of time, usually it's a pat on the back, handshake, quick hug, off we go. Right? If it's a few months to maybe a year or so, then it's a longer hug. There's usually a peck on the cheek, right? So all these niceties. And usually if it's several years, then tears of joy start to flood. That reunion lasts for like 5 minutes. The whole length of 5 minutes they're kissing and cuddling, and you're like, guys, get a room. At that time they forget where they are. Because so much tension has been building up, all of that is released at that moment in time. And that pleasure that is experienced is uncontainable. It's like also almost like the heart blossoms with pleasure. So, when you keep restraining yourself, when you want it but restrain yourself, all you need to do is allow time. There's a huge danger here. This is why I'm talking to you about this, right? Because I know there are people among you who actually want to do this full time. There are people among you who want to go forth, become a monk, right? Or become an anagarika or anagarika, or in whatever capacity to be able to do this. Or even if it's in your lay life, right? If you have decided, I'm going to keep away or restrain myself from certain things that you used to do. Forcefully doing it is not the answer to the problem. Unwholesome deeds, do that forcefully, yes, starting now. No, actually starting yesterday. But at the same time, make sure you take the teaching, take the Dhamma. Let that implant yourself, let the Dhamma implant in your mind. Let it grow, let it foster. Because if you don't do that, it's going to become torture. And then pretty soon you're going to want relief from that. Because that is, you'll then think that it's the Dhamma that is putting you into vexation. You'll begin to think that the virtue or the precepts that I have vowed to abide by is what is putting me into vexation. This is the source of my vexation. Then you will start to curse the Dhamma. You will start to curse the people who have been talking to you about the Dhamma. Yes, there are some couples like that. They walk up to us. Sometimes it's the husband, sometimes it's the wife who wants to go further in the Dhamma. Right? Or one of the two partners will come along, listen to sermons, and the other is not so interested. And then what happens is this person, who comes along to the teachings, to the sermons, they no longer seek that kind of enjoyment in sensual life or in a lay worldly life. Now that transformation doesn't happen with a partner who stays at home. So their expectations are what used to be. That hasn't changed. The partner who stayed at home, they expect